are now tuned in to the On Track with All My People podcast with your hosts, Amber Peters, A.K.A. Ms. P.
And Daytwan David, A.K.A. Dr. Change, ain't nothing strange about it, A.K.A. Mr. David, A.K.A. Ayo, Miss.
Oh my God, Daytwan, can we just start the show already?
Don't be acting brand new now.
Never.
What is this color blue? What do we call this?
Royal. Like
it's not royal.
It's royal.
Here she goes. And look at you looking at the wrong camera. We're supposed to be over here.
Y'all.
And she berated
I was trying
me.
to look at my shirt.
She berated me before the episode. Let's get started. Because we're talking about shirts. I represent Bad Boy. Bad Boy.
And not even bad.
I'm not. We're representing Bad Boy. And Bad Boy was the backdrop of my high school years in the late 1900s. I'm so disrespectful that students say that to me.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
You were born in the 1900s.
In the 1900s. 94 to 98, though, pivotal years in my life. It really set some foundation for me. There was a lot of transition happening, but Bad Boy, Can't Stop, Won't Stop was the backdrop. What was the backdrop for you? You were a few years younger than me. I want the people to know that, too. Because they may look at my beard and feel differently.
Good.
It's all right, though.
Good. Let them know I'm younger.
A few years.
By a few years. But I would say, anything in Bad Boy, anything Destiny's Child, yeah, Monica, like, because you had to have your little hood stuff, right? Because I'm from the Bronx, so that had to happen, right?
For sure.
Terror Squad and all of them, shout out to them. Right? But then you're still a girl, right? So like Monica, Destiny's Child had to come into play, right? And you boys getting on your nerves and stuff like that. Had to, sing your little song.
The Boy Is Mine.
The Boy Is Mine. I ain't fighting over no boy though. You can have
scrubs.
them.
You don't want no scrubs?
That actually happened in high school. I was like, girl, it's not even that deep. You
Wait,
can have
somebody pressed you about a guy?
About a boy. A boy.
Not a full man, a boy.
That wasn't even like my boyfriend. Like, he took me to the movies and they
you were doing too much. What are you saying? Yeah.
That ain't my fault. Talk to your man. What you coming to me for?
Hold on. You went to movie theaters on 161st?
Yep.
Y'all were living
for the free.
y'all were living dangerously.
For the free.
That movie theater.
Don't do that. Don't do that. I have great memories in that movie theater.
I have great memories going to that movie theater too, but I also know it's dangerous.
Not being in no danger. Y'all be gassing it. Like,
it is what it is. I'm not going to,
Despacio, por favor.
talk too crazy about your experience. But
relax.
And getting about that, what it does sound like is that you are, in some way, shape, or form, have been connected to like your identity in a way that you show up authentically into spaces. Do you feel like you being from the Bronx and hip hop and Korean culture, does it show up in your work professionally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bring my whole self to the work. If you know me, you know me, right? Most people see me, like, even now as a almost 40-year-old. People see me now 40. And be like, you're still the same. You laugh the same. Oh my gosh, your humor is the same, right? Like, I am who I am. But like, I want to say hip hop in the Bronx made me, right? Like, it's apparent. It's in my branding. It's all over, right? So yeah. Yeah.
So as we celebrate, a couple of weeks ago, the birth, the 50 years of hip hop. I think it's so dope to kind of figure out how many people have been impacted by hip hop. And how many people have allowed hip hop to be something that has crossed over into other fields that have nothing to really do inherently with hip hop. Mm-hmm. And so when you were doing your branding rollout, it was like, Amber's definitely from the Bronx, and that was something to be like proud of. But also the way in which you kind of showcased that, I think was super dope. There was a gentleman that I saw. I want to say the interview was like last year. Dr. Elliot Connie, he's a psychotherapist, black man. Shout out to that brother. Who talked about essentially the importance of showing up authentically. And I thought that was such a very important thing because I resonated with that. Here's why. There's a bunch of times, and you joked on me about this, because there's a picture, y'all, and I'm going to keep talking about it. I know I said it in season 1 and season 2. There's a picture of me in a suit with my long beard. I got the long beard here. I don't got everything full like here.
David.
Right? She called me a pastor, a deacon, because I was wearing a suit. Now, every now and again, I like to put those things on. and rock out. But I think naturally there's other ways in which I like to show up into spaces. Even if I'm wearing a suit, I think people can tell, like, yes, I do believe in the ability to code switch. But in the way in which I execute my work, there's definitely like interdisciplinary with the culture that I grew up in. A part of that is, Caribbean culture, New York culture, Bronx culture, like those things play a pivotal role. And I think wherever I go, people get with that. And it's a part of my brand and uniqueness. But something that was part of that interview was very, very interesting. I want to talk about this really quickly. Amber, if you think about younger people that you are responsible for, nephew, nieces, cousins, smaller cousins, or whatever the case may be, your own children or whatever, and somebody told you that your children should be able to disrespect you, how would you feel about that?
That's cute.
That's cute.
Absolutely not.
Why would you say that?
No. We set the table for respect around here.
We set the table for respect around here, and I absolutely agree.
I don't know. Disrespect is one of those things that's like a deal breaker for me. Like, we could be cool, we could kiki, we could laugh, but the minute you disrespect me,
so disrespect.
Children, man, woman, boy, or girl.
Right.
No, thank you.
So I want to make sure I'm getting the quote right, because there was an idea or the concept of this was that in full context, there are times when people look at respect and silence as two of the very same things, right? Like, you can be, just because you don't say anything back, that you are respecting somebody. And what he was talking about in the episode is like, it produces complicitness. Like, people just become complicit with just kind of doing anything, regardless of if it's from the parent or other people. So one of the things that he talked about is there should be an opportunity for young people to do what naturally in many of our communities is disrespect, which is be able to kind of question different things that they are experiencing or thinking about, or things that you're telling them. And I thought that's such a powerful thing, because it is kind of counterproductive to my upbringing. I was raised to like do as I say, not as I do, follow these instructions or whatever. But he talked about something that was very important. Beyond showing up as your authentic selves, he wanted to help young people to develop their thoughts better, be better versions of themselves. I say that in my branding, but to think about how can they develop thoughts with wisdom, right? Young people have thoughts, a lot of thoughts. Both my children, but specifically my 11-year-old, 18-year-old. I say that intentionally. She has a lot of thoughts, and sometimes it's challenging to kind of embrace those thoughts. But what I recognize, and something that I'm hopefully trying to do better, is allowing her to be able to question the things that's happening for her and to be able to use that everywhere. So one of the things he talks about was being able to help children develop thoughts with wisdom, right? And also help students conceptualize and build resistance for the world that they live in. So I wanted to kind of bring that in the space today, because I thought it was such a really dope and powerful, poignant topic. There are often times that we are trying to tell students to be independent thinkers, but we're rearing them to be complicit and compliant. Especially as it relates to like being able to achieve their end goal. How have you seen that happen in workspaces that you've been in?
I mean, with just thinking about, especially, and I hate to say this, but I'm gonna put it out there. Sometimes immigrant families, right? They have a specific lifestyle that they have planned for their children.
For sure.
Right? And so for you to go counter to that, right? Like, it really disturbs the fabric of the family when you decide, hey, I don't want to do this. And I've seen that happen with many young people. They're like, well, my mom's only paying if I'm going to be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, and like, that's that, right? Doesn't matter that I don't like to do any of these things. Don't like to argue. I don't want to do nothing with math. I hate science, right? They don't care. They're not listening to me saying I'm actually really passionate about this. Maybe I'm passionate about coding. Maybe I'm passionate about entrepreneurship, right? And it's like a no, because it's not the things that they had set for them. And so it becomes disrespectful because you're saying I don't like it or I don't want to do it. It's like, well, I don't care what you want to do. It's what I want to do, and I'm paying for it. So you're not going to do X, Y, Z. And I've seen that like literally disturb like full families. Like, I'm not paying for nothing. I'm not doing anything. I'm not signing this. I'm not signing that, like on purpose. So like it does show up in the work a lot when, you know, sometimes the parents have their own vision for the child's life. Sometimes, honestly, and you know, I love people, but sometimes people are busy living their dreams through somebody else. The thing that they weren't able to do and complete for themselves, they want to see it played out with, you know, their loved one, whether it's their child or whatever. They want somebody else to be able to like hold the mantle of what they wanted to do, and like that's not fair to the person.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah, like you're talking about like families living vicariously through their children for the opportunities that they did not have or the ones they did not take. And that can be super challenging because we have a lot of young people that are not living up to like their full potential because they're not being able to like follow what their passion, what their heart says, what they're inclined to do. And sometimes I think I am guilty of that. Let me tell you, my daughter was 4 years old. We were taking her to school, and she was just like going to school every single day. She'll see this one person on the corner every single day, and that lady would wave to her, and she thought it was just like the coolest thing ever. And then she was like, "Hey, Dad, when I grow up, I'm going to be you know, I'm gonna be what do you call these? A crossing guard." I was like, "Wait, what?" Like
she probably would be the best at it.
Like, little girl, you were reading since 2 years old. Like, what are you talking about crossing guard? Like, and that's no disrespect to the crossing guards, but you know, I think as a parent, it's just like, hey, I want you to have what I have and more and beyond. And there's so many other things you see, but once again, that is thoughts without wisdom, right? Like, because I can also imagine that crossing guard. I respect all jobs, literally all jobs that people are earning an honest dollar. But it's also the aspect of having a livable wage, a sustainable wage, and being able to kind of attain some of the things that just allow you to have a better quality of life. And I wanted my daughter to be able to do that without having to rely on living in an apartment with 5 other people or having to rely on other people to be able to kind of live the life that she wants. So that was my part of my thinking. There's also some like other aspects, like as a parent, you kind of think about prestige, but I'm learning to kind of continue to dial that back and really try to focus and hone in on her. With that said, though, some of the thing that's kind of like challenging is I wonder how many people never got it right. In terms of their family never got it right or whatever, because I had a meeting of about 20 people this week, this particular question. This was actually yesterday. And I'm going to ask you this question as well. I want you to think about what is a career that you know in your heart that you were born to do that you are not doing, and why are you not doing it?
That's a good question.
I got my answer.
I would say, well, after this stint of entrepreneurship, right? I would say something in tech, UX design, or something like that. I didn't even know that was possible. So that's the reason why, like, you know, that wasn't the thing that I did. But, like, I didn't have context of, one, you didn't really see a lot of women in tech.
For sure.
Number one. Number two.
Or black women.
Or black women,
right,
for that matter. It was, you know, Silicon Valley doesn't have a lot of people that look like me. So, like, it was never a thing for me to even think that was a thing, right? So, for me, I went to something safe. I liked young people. I had a experience where I did a work study thing when I was at Bronx Community College, and I was working at a youth center. They're now Bronx Works, and I remember that being like the catalyst to me like wanting to teach, like, and wanting to be around young people full time. When I got into teaching, that was a different experience, but we're not going to talk about that for this episode.
Not this episode.
Not this episode.
That's a special episode.
That episode may never come out.
For Halloween. That's a Halloween episode, yeah.
There was a lot happening there, but I think if I had been introduced to tech, I'm a natural at it, right? Like, I built a whole app, right?
A whole app.
Like, that is literally supporting people right now. Like, people are still downloading. It's great.
So not like a, you know, like a little thing with a couple pictures, like a whole functioning app. Shout outs to you.
So, like, I think if I had been exposed to that, I would definitely want to be in the ed tech space. I mean, nothing is saying that I can't be in that ed tech space now. But I think if I had been exposed to it and like saw like how, because I think it's super cool, right? Like I'm like, wow, I'm learning so much about just like how tech works and how people use certain things. But like I was never exposed to that, so like, you know, I think a lot of for me is like, there's a lot that I was probably born to do that I just never was exposed to. Right, that's a dream deferred right there.
Dream deferred.
Was able to like be able to even play with it or like try it on. I think for me it's just a missed opportunity on a lot of things that I seem to naturally do well. If I was able to like have it be tangible.
So thoughts without wisdom from Dr. Connie, but thoughts without knowledge of possibilities. Like that plagues, I think, a lot of us. So in this particular meeting, I said it was like 20 people there. It was over 85% that mentioned a career that they're not doing right now. And that's super common. And there were so many different, like, various reasons. But when they talked about that and wrote their response to that question, there was so much smiles. It was like people were elated. Some people had shared interests. Some people were doing things that were super different from what they wanted to do. And life plays a role within that. For me, I think I had two. One would have been a journalist. You know, I asked a lot of questions.
Yes.
That's what I like to do.
Yes.
I ask a lot of questions.
But
I also like to document stories, right? But I think also because of the love of hip hop, I would have loved to have been a DJ. I think being able to like command the crowd.
Nah, his playlist.
My playlist be official.
The car playlist be lit.
Official.
You could have did that.
I think I could have done that, right? Like, as somebody that enjoyed dancing, I can also get back and just be like, yo, I know what the people gonna rock with. Now, with that being stated, though, we understand of how this might have affected us and how people in our like ecosystem may not have supported us in the way that we needed to be supported with looking at how can we best connect with those dreams. But we can still definitely have an impact on students. And also, our dreams still don't have to be deferred. We can actually chase those. With that, I do have a question. If you're thinking about the practitioners in the field, they're supporting freshmen to seniors and trying to conceptualize what they want to do. Let's take a step back. Let's focus directly on the seniors, the class of 2024. You have counselors and, you know, people working with that class. A student comes up to you and say, hey, I know for a fact I want to go to college, but I don't know what I want to major in. How are you supporting that student? And how are you even supporting the counselor that's supporting that student?
I mean, for me, it always goes back to just surveying, right? One of the things that I have young people do, and that I teach like counselors that I work with, the kid is unclear. We need to do some digging, right? We need to do some self-discovery. So maybe we need to do a personality test and see where you land there, right? Myers-Briggs is a great one to do to kind of get what their personality type is. And then there's even a place where you can find the personality type, and it shows you jobs that would be perfect for that personality type. I'd also make them do like a career inventory and just kind of see like where they land with that. Based on, you know, things that they like to do, interests they have and things like that, it kind of narrows it down and be like, hey, you would be great for XYZ career.
For sure.
Right? And then the last part of that would be like, okay, so now that you have these kind of careers that fit you, whether or not you're interested or not, let's look at the Occupational Outlook Handbook. Y'all know that's my favorite resource.
She stated it. They need to pay her.
My favorite resource in the world.
They need to pay her for sure.
If they go to that website, then they will get like the cheat code. Like literally there's a part in there that walks them through all the things they need to do to prep for that career. So like what kind of schooling they need, what kind of certifications they need, if they need any licenses, down to the character traits that they're looking for in interviews and things like that. They literally like map it all out for the student. So I would have them go through that, right? It's not 100% science, right? Because I'm in business, right? But business administration and entrepreneurship is two different things.
For sure.
So when I took that first business administration class, I was like, what is this? Right? I had to change my major. I was like, I don't think this is it. Right?
100%.
Because I thought I was gonna open a dance school, so I had to take business classes so I knew how
dance school?
Yes. I danced in high school. Yeah.
Really?
And so I thought I was going to be, I thought I was going to be in all the videos. I thought I was going to be in the Bad Boy video.
Let me tell y'all something really quick that is super frustrating. Amber knows all of the dances from the 70s all the way to 2023.
All of them.
But is never outside.
Never.
No clubs, no parties, nothing, but knows the whole routine. Like even when they do the cutaways where you don't really see what part they're dancing, she knows that part as well that you don't see in the videos, right? So that's amazing that you were considering that. But I think also you still found a way to still be an entrepreneur,
right?
Which is an aspect of that. Now, something that I'm really interested in thinking about is I do believe that the interest surveys and career surveys are useful tools, but it can be a lazy resource in the hands of certain people, right? Like they're just like, hey, here are your results. Becomes like a monotonous thing. Like it's just something that is just like rote. Just do these, fill these out, and follow the next steps. And that is such a disservice for the students. One. The second thing that is a pushback is oftentimes the data and the formatting of those tests can be like skewed, and they omit like the true total population of people, right? So they may not represent everybody in the community, especially people of color. So that's just another thing to think about. But I do think they can be a foundation. What I have done with those particular tests is I have found ways where students get an opportunity to be like, now they have thoughts with some kind of knowledge. Like, hey, this is what this person can make. Mm-hmm. I can see myself doing this, right? We have to also think about what is motivating students based on like where they are. So some students are motivated by the fact that they get to earn money or they get to do these things and not have to worry about spending 8 additional years in college to be able to earn this particular wage of living. Like this, for me, I think it's important to figure out what are the students' motivational factors. What are the things that I think they are considering? If they are going to college, I want them to be able to consider going to a college that offers different majors that they may want to consider researching. And like you said, being able to dig a little deeper. In thinking about this, one of the other things that I want students to know is that oftentimes people go into colleges and their major is going to change. And oftentimes it's changing because they discover something about themselves, either like they like something more or they don't like something as much.
Or they had an internship experience that changes their life.
Talk about your experience.
Have a study abroad experience that changes their lives and makes things different for them. Things happen. Like I came in thinking I was gonna do one thing and then left doing a whole nother thing, right?
For sure.
So like I came in, I wanted to do business administration. I changed to human services. Then I changed to psychology because I thought it was a pathway to teaching, traditionally teaching. Mm-hmm. Realized that was not the case for the program that I applied for teaching fellows, and they were like, teaching fellows was the way I had to go because they were only allowing social work majors to have a track to teaching, but not psychology. But I was like, huh? What? Whatever. So I had to switch my major, and I was fine with it because I was just like, as long as I'm getting to do things that called to me, and thought I was gonna be a psychologist. I was like, okay, maybe I could use my psychology degree a different way, right? Mm-hmm. And then I have this experience at BronxWorks, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. I can be in front of students. I know I want to be in front of young people. I didn't know what capacity. I was like, okay, if not a teacher, what else can I do, right?
Right.
So many other different things. Could have been a college advisor. Could have did this. Could have did that. Still ended up in that world, right? But the switches happened naturally, right? It wasn't something I was thinking about. It wasn't like, oh my God, right? It just was like, listen, in order for me to do this, I always had like a little 5-year plan. Mm-hmm. That was always a thing for me. I did so poorly in high school. I was like, I ain't going back to college to mess this up on my dime. So we won't figure this out.
Okay.
So what I did was I would create these 5-year plans, and like in 5 years, this is where I see myself. I had my end in mind, and I worked backwards every single time. That was something that was common practice for me. So, I made it happen, but it was, I was okay with switching, right? And I also didn't wait too long to switch. So that's the other part. It's like, it's okay to switch, but like know when to switch. Know when it makes sense, because some people would get all the way to the end of the degree and want to switch.
Yeah.
No.
Here's what I'll say to that as well. I had a student of mine. I've been with this student since middle school, and it's so dope I've been with her in middle school. she went to the high school where I was doing work at, and then, still have been like connecting and supporting her through college. And she just informed me that she was interested in switching up her major, but she wasn't sure that she wanted to do it because it would add like another year to her. So I asked her if she had an opportunity to consider maybe doing the other thing as a minor instead. And she was open to that idea. She didn't really understand that that was a possibility for her. The other thing is, like you said earlier, students should utilize the resources of the school, making sure that they meet with an academic advisor so that they fully understand what the changes will look like or what the possibilities are. I know that, it is just important for them to have the most information possible before making this change. So if you're thinking about this now, what is one thing that you want anybody that's working with that particular student to know or to do when they're working with a student that wants to go to college but doesn't have a major? What is the one thing?
Just make sure that you show them, like, you help them with the research part, right? It's like, it's okay not to know.
For sure.
When you think about it, you're about to sign your life away. You're 17, maybe turning 18 by the time the end of the experience, and you're expected to plan your whole life.
For sure.
Exercise, great patience, because everybody's not going to know. Would we like people to know before they go to school and spend all that money? Absolutely, 100%. But for the vast majority of them, they need to have life experience before they can make a decision like that. So exercise, great patience, and help them with the research.
With that being stated, I think Amber's perspective on her last answer really talks about what you're doing to support the senior. I think one of the best ways to support the senior is to support them as a freshman, right? Like, to really help them to develop character, develop insight to who they are and what they want. Making sure that they, as best as possible, are engaged in life experiences, like you said. Like, I love the students. I've worked with 1199 and SYEP, and I love some of the meaningful experiences, because the students that have been able to get to the job that they think they want to do, they either confirm it or they're just like, nah, this ain't it. Like, I thought this is what I wanted to do, but I cannot be in this space, right? And that just puts them one step closer to realizing what is it they really want to discover. I worked with a group of students this year, and some of them, like for instance, some of them were like, oh, I'm going to work with students, like children or whatever, because I want to work in the daycare. They worked in the daycare. They was like, Daytwan,
never want to
this
do
ain't
this
it.
ever again.
This ain't it. They're doing too much. And now I think it kind of frees them up to be able to do other things. Also, sometimes it's about timing, right? Like, that young person may not be in the right headspace to be able to work with students right now, but it may be her passion. So she has to do other things to discover that later on, or be in a better environment or setting that's fitting for them. So I think it's definitely about starting early with doing the investigative work. I'm asking young people to answer, to be exposed to, not be able to answer, but be exposed to the tough questions. Like, what are you interested in? What do you think you want to do? How does this connect to next year? Another thing you mentioned, which is a habit, 7 habits of highly effective people. Begin with the end in mind. I want you to kind of touch on this, because I don't think everybody knows how to do this. How did you figure out something that was, like, how did you define the end goal for your 5-year plan? Because oftentimes people can overshoot that. They could do something that is just like, in 5 years, I'm going to be a billionaire. And it's so how do you? I
was realistic with my stuff, right? Like,
realistic. Explain that. Yeah.
Being realistic means, in 5 years from, like, as freshmen, 5 years, that means I would be in my first job, right? So what would I want that first job to look like? What kind of opportunities would I like it to give me? Because for me, that would have been my stepping stone, right? That's my entry level position into the world. So I knew that whatever it was going to have to shape me into something.
For sure.
Right? So thinking about that, it's like, okay, so I know I want to work with young people. Didn't really know the capacity, but I knew I needed to have a full-time salary. Needed to have a full-time salary. Needed to be in front of young people between the ages of. I was very specific about that.
Right.
Between, at the
It's
time,
key.
I said middle school, and my crazy. I don't know why I started in middle school, but Lord, 13 to 18. I was very clear about that. And then everything else was like, okay, so. I have to graduate. Okay, prior to graduation, I need to have a GPA that looks like X. Prior to the GPA looking like X. I need to take these classes in order for me to finish. Prior to that, what kind of internships or like, I guess, extracurricular experiences do I need to make sure that I have the skills to be able to do it? Like
100%.
I have mapped it all the way out. So
100%.
all those things are things that, like, when I'm thinking about the end, right, I have to think about all the little links that go to that. So, like, when we talk with our young people, we really have to help them conceptualize, like, yes, big house and car and wonderful, but that's the very end goal, but, like, immediately, what do you want, right? And then after that, immediately, what do you want? And then after that, like, because it's going to be baby steps. You're not going to, what they say, Rome wasn't built in a day. True. Right? So, like, all these baby steps that are in between, we have to also think about those things, too.
The Bronx wasn't built in a day either. No. I want you to understand that. Yeah, so we're wrapping up. I think you touched on a couple of key things. One is helping young people to state what their end goal is, right? Like, as best as possible, being able to explore it. Just like, they don't have to, like, land in it and be solidified in it, but just explore it, right? I know a lot of my young people, a key question that I can ask them is, if you're 25 years old, what is a lifestyle that you anticipate living for yourself? And then them being able to envision that, like having that vision. All right, now let's walk backwards. What are the things that you're willing to do to be able to get that you feel like can be attainable? Now, keep this in mind. Thoughts without wisdom, they may not be able to express everything that they can do, but it's a conversation to begin the research process, right? We know that some young people at a certain point in time are just like, hey, I am not interested. Oh, I want to become a doctor. And it's just like, all right, well, you need to go to science class, right? Like, where you're at right now, it's not going to get it done. But it doesn't mean that you can't get it done, right? Like, so let's take those steps, as you said. I think also we talked about being able to kind of connect identity with these choices. I brand this a lot. Having young people to investigate, who are they? What are their yeses? What are their nos? What are their interests? You mentioned something very valuable, life experiences through internships. Is very key for young people to be able to identify those yeses and those nos for themselves. And so I think that's all the way solid. I want you to get the last word. Speaking to high school Amber, what can be said to help her to recognize that becoming an entrepreneur of a dance school is possible? What would you say now?
Oh, it's possible, babes. Like, you could have did it. You could have did it 3 times over if you wanted to. You could have had a franchise, right? It's easy, right? It feels difficult, but, like, as long as you have the right support around you, because I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just like the super autonomous person. I can do it all by myself, right? Do it with community. Do it with people, right? There's support out there for you. That's what I would tell them.
That's a powerful one. There are psychological theories about ecosystems and how the ecosystems can support or be the detriment of young people, right? And so if the ecosystems, we're talking about things that's, the family, the schools, the community, if those things rally behind a student, those things become even more possible. And especially if they're speaking of the same messages. Young people, y'all need to leverage networks and create them if you don't have them. There's the concept of the plug. It doesn't have to be something that's nefarious, of like getting things that you shouldn't be getting, or just getting things that are just surface level. There's literally an opportunity for you to just get valuable information to understand what the possibilities are. That is one of the key messages we want y'all to get from this episode. Let's wrap this up, because you said Bad Boy was a part of your situation, and you got that little Mary, Lil Kim dance and bop going on. Favorite Bad Boy song? Talk to me.
Ooh.
Wrap us up. What we got?
More Money, More Problems.
That's a good one. I'm gonna go with Can't You See.
Can't you see?
You
was.
Woo.
I was way off.
You was on the West Coast.
I was way off.
You was someplace else.
I was way off. Wait.
No, you was on. You was on Hypnotize. I was doing.
Can't You See? You was doing Total Can't You See?
Yeah, give me all the chicken heads from Pasadena to Medina.
The problem with black people is that we don't call the title. We pick out part of the song and then we call that song whatever part, the part that we like. We just connect it with the full song, but that don't mean the song's actual name.
And this is why you were a dancer and not a singer.
Exactly.
Because you're doing too much. Bad boy for life. We're wrapping up the episode. I'm here with
Amber Peters, A.K.A. Miss P.
And I am Daytron David, Dr. Change, with another episode. Please make sure you follow us on IG. And
LinkedIn.
I'm going to allow you to trick me into TikTok. I'm going to allow that. My mom's be watching TikTok, so I'm going to follow her where she's going.
I don't know about that.
We're going to make it work.
Go find us on LinkedIn. Go find us on Instagram.
There we go.
It's all linked below.
All right, y'all.
Peace out.
Yes.